Welcome everyone, DC Wood here of Beartown Radio, bringing you another local feature report of recent events. Those of you who've been listening to The Box of Stuff throughout June will remember our special theatre month, where I've been chatting with members of Congleton Players to promote the special one-act play festival at Daneside Theatre. First of all, I would just like to give a big thanks to those who listened to my show on Tuesday the 22nd of July 2014, where I gave a recap of the One Act Play Festival. And for those who missed it, this special YouTube report is for them. And I would also like to give big thanks to Michael Saunders and Annette Bradley for all our talks and me being involved with the promotion of this year's festival. And I would also dearly love to thank Annabelle Hull, David Olaf Carney, Howard Bell and Pam Mean for being such great guests on my show. I'd also like to thank all the Congleton Players again for inviting me to rehearsals and taking photos and interviews for this review. For those who don't know, the One Act Play Festival is a special annual event that Daneside Theatre hosts in Congleton. It's been running almost as long as the players themselves, and people all over the world write scripts and submit their plays to the people at Daneside, and the best scripts are chosen to be acted out before a live audience, with the winning play receiving prize money and recognition, allowing the playwriters to take their work to new heights. In 2014, 211 plays were submitted to Congleton Players. 211 from all over the world, with the best 5 being selected to be acted out in front of a live audience who would vote for the winning play. I attended both the full dress rehearsal and the official event itself, and will share with listeners my comparisons experiences of both the sit-through both sit-throughs, whilst reviewing each of these plays and the event as a whole. The first play that kicked off after we were welcomed into the theatre was Behind the Nets by Peter Pitt, who wrote this. This opening play was about Sybil, a long-suffering housewife whose husband Norman gets into trouble with the police. Revelations from Norman's past threaten not only their marriage, but threaten to corrupt Sybil as well. Linda Davenport directed Behind the Nets. Jill Cardell starred as Sybil. Helen Sutton starred as Norman's nagging sister Josie. Kate Burrow played nosy next-door neighbour May, and Craig Eccleston was Norman. Peter Pitt's script was a very good one, I thought. There was a strong story with distinctive characters and a powerful ending. Linda Davenport did a great job directing, and there was a solid performance all round from the cast members, from each of them. Craig Eccleston was convincing as the self-centred drunk Norman, and Helen Sutton and Kate Burrow played their parts brilliantly. Jill Cardell got all the mannerisms and demeanour right as the tragic Sybil. And I particularly loved how the character focused its love and attention on the pet budgie in the cage. This was a really nice human touch, and it was a symbol of dying innocence, I thought. The only thing that let this performance down was that Jill did forget her lines at times during the dress rehearsal, the full dress rehearsal on the night previously, and she needed prompting on more than one occasion. It was more frequent during the live night itself, and I think maybe nerves and the pressure of performing in front of a large audience got to Jill. Nevertheless, kudos to her and the rest of the cast for getting through it and being grand performance all in all, and putting on a strong opener that was well written. I rate this play 4 out of 5. And after that, we moved on to the next play, which was My Home, My Castle. This was written by John Hill, and this stage piece was also being performed as a radio play for BBC Radio 4, featuring 2 notorious aristocrats discussing their politically incorrect views on the world in social surroundings. Drew Tooth directed this second play, My Home, My Castle, and his cast consisted of Michael Clues as Lord Sturgeon and Peter Cooper as Viscount Brocklebank. That's an ace name. It really, really is. Thanks to all 3 of them again, by the way, for the interview the previous week. A link to that interview and their rehearsal can be found in the description of this video. I loved the set design here. The radio mic with the BBC logo, the on-air light, the wardrobe of the characters for the costumes, the table with the drinks, the whole atmosphere provided for the audience's imagination. Superb. Both Michael Clues and Peter Cooper were impeccable, giving enthusiastic performances and having terrific chemistry in both rehearsal and the night itself. During the live performance, there was a fluff where the drinks table threatened to give way, and Michael, in the single best bit of improv of the night, came out with something along the lines of "absolutely rubbish table, isn't it?" in full character, to a great ovation. It was a tremendous bit of improv acting from Michael, and Peter did a splendid job of recovering there. Drew did a great job directing in rehearsals also, and on the night itself, providing additional voice work for the setting. But this is a major issue here. The play was way too long for what it was. My Home, My Castle had some funny lines and dialogue, but John Hill's script really needed cutting down to a third of what it was. I can understand that this was also being done for radio, but it didn't translate well into a stage production. There was so little going on, and not all of the humour worked for the audience. It was just mostly dialogue and not enough action. Frankly, I thought that this play was saved by the correct cast and crew, which helped break up the monotony. There was great atmosphere and presentation, and some really good humour and funny lines in the script at times, but these were quite sporadic, and it's a shame that it dragged on for so long. I can't give it higher than 2 out of 5. The next play that came along was Revenge is Sweet, and this was written by Dwayne Yancey. This play is about a hapless catering crew in a wannabe posh restaurant who are desperately trying to impress a very important elite food critic, and one can only imagine what happens next. And this was directed by Howard Ball, who appeared on the box of stuff. Cheers, mate. And the cast consisted of David Lowndes as the manager, Craig Eccleston doing double duty on this night as the French chef, Kate Burrough, also in her second role of the festival, played the waitress, Michael Clues also returned as the critic, and Paolo Pinto played the dishwasher, and Joe Sellers played the bistro waitress. This was all-round brilliance. Revenge is Sweet was fantastic, absolutely fantastic. Dwayne Yancey wrote a genuinely witty and sharp script, and Howard Ball's direction did it justice, as did all the enthusiastic cast members. Eccleston showed again how versatile and convincing he is as an actor, and as the French chef in this case. At times, there were times when he mirrored John Cleese's chef from the infamous Dirty Fork Python sketch. I mean, he had such intensity and fury at times. It was just brilliant. And there were hilarious exchanges between Michael Clues and Kate Burrough. David Lowndes was very good as the shady restaurant manager. And kudos to both Joe Seller and Paolo Pinto for their background acting. There were even things like bringing him the dessert trolley, exchanging wine bottles, and the dishwasher turning to read the Congleton Chronicle when he'd run out of washing up liquid. That was so subtle and brilliant. There was always something going on in Revenge is Sweet, and the set layout for the restaurant kitchen really made it accessible to the audience's imagination. Things like using roadkill for the triple meat surprise and poison ivy nightshade for the salad were fantastic. I really loved that, and I personally don't have any criticisms about this play. None whatsoever. I loved it in both rehearsal and on the night itself, and this was one of my 2 absolute favourites of the night. And after this came the interval, featuring all manner of wonderful ice cream and drinks. Then came the raffle, and then after that we moved on to the second half. The second half kicked off with play number 4, Condemned to Live, written by Heather Dunmore. This is the exceptionally powerful piece over an intense family matter, permanently ending the suffering of the household's father, who's in never-ending pain. This was directed by David Carney, who also appeared on the box of stuff. Cheers, mate. And this starred Annette Madden as the mother, David Podmore as Jack, Bethan Lation as Kate, Vicky Lee as Bridget, and Michael Clues in his third performance of the night as Derek. Where do I begin? This is a play about one of the most highly controversial and sensitive issues in the world, euthanasia. Heather Dunmore wrote something that is very intense, yet also manages to successfully present the never-ending debate in a script that's powerful, psychological, yet respectful to families who are going through situations similar to this. Not a single word or moment were wasted in Condemned to Live, and you couldn't help but think non-stop throughout. This was deeply moving and powerful, with perfection all round. All the characters, all the aspects, all the situations of this play were so multifaceted and well paced. It's amazing. If I could sum up the entire cast, Annette Madden, David Podmore, Bethan Lation, Vicky Lee and Michael Clues in one word, it would be legitimate. All of them, every single one, gave legitimate, genuine, intense performances. There were so many moments that were so emotional, so dramatic, particularly especially the arguments between Annette, David, Bethan and Lation. Oh my word. I mean, this wasn't a recreation. This was actually taking a real life domestic situation and putting it on for the whole world to see on stage. I don't have, like Revenge is Sweet, I don't have any criticisms here. Some said, some of the audience members did say that you couldn't really enjoy this play as the others in the festival, but my response to that would be, you're not supposed to enjoy this. You need to be exposed to productions every once in a while that make you stop and think, and Condemned to Live was one of those plays. It's intelligently written and passionately performed, and above all else, a difficult subject, a highly difficult subject, arguably the hardest of them all, presented so skillfully, and top marks, 5 out of 5 easily. And finally, we had the last play of the night, play number 5, For the Benefit of Albert Entwistle by Dave McAdam. And I would just like to give a big shout out to you, Dave. Thanks so much for appearing on my radio show on the 22nd of July. And we had a really good conversation on that night. And cheers again, mate. And this play, For the Benefit of Albert Entwistle. This was a comedy focusing on one Albert Entwistle who's fallen on hard financial times, and his solution to the problem wasn't much, just a little benefit fraud. Directed by David Burt, this cast featured Peter Sutton as Albert Entwistle, Dorothy Ramsbottom as wife Doris, Mick Lamas as Doris's dad Frank Grimshaw, and My Home, My Castle director Drew Tooth returned here to perform as Herbert Collins. This was another fun, genuinely witty script that Dave McAdam wrote. It's a classic comedy situation that's brought to life wonderfully by David Burt's great direction and a fantastic cast. Dorothy and Mick were wonderful in their roles, but the best performances came from Peter Sutton as Albert Entwistle, bringing to life a great character and also hilariously dressing up in drag as Sister Alice. Drew Tooth's Herbert Collins was just as fantastic, and there were so many memorable sequences and lines. The audience were in hysterics. It was just absolutely brilliant, and in my opinion, this has the makings of a great sitcom or tour. David McAdam can certainly translate his script for television, film or future stage shows. The play is just so versatile, and it was just absolutely great all round. For the Benefit of Albert Entwistle was fantastic, but I did feel that the only criticism that I had was that I felt that this also went on longer than it should. Unlike My Home, My Castle, this play made much better use of its time, but it still dragged a bit in places. And when I was chatting with David last night, he did say to me that the reason why there were additional scenes included in the writing to make it a bit longer was just to accommodate for the fact that Peter Sutton had to get in and out of costume throughout various scenes. And I say that's fair enough, that's fine. And in my opinion, overall, this was the best play to close this year's festival, and its vast potential for future media stands it in very good stead, in my opinion. 4 out of 5. And after the plays had concluded, Annabelle Hull, head of Congleton Players, asked for the audience to vote for the best play using a paper ballot system. There were slips of paper with the names of each of the different plays attached to the main programme, and the audience returned the slips with their favourite play's name on it. During the full dress rehearsal the night before, I couldn't decide who to vote for out of Revenge is Sweet and Condemned to Live. Those were my absolute favourites, and personally I considered them equally good. On the night itself, when it came to crunch time, I ended up voting for Condemned to Live. It purely came down to performance of the cast. There were a few cases in the live performance of Revenge is Sweet where some of the cast members did need prompting, in contrast to the performers in Condemned to Live, who were just as good on the actual night as they were in rehearsal, which is why I ultimately ended up voting for them. It was so close, though, it could have gone the other way. After 10 to 15 minutes, the votes were tallied, and Annabelle invited all the casts, directors and writers who were able to attend of all the different plays to come upstage to take a bow. I'm so pleased that the budgie from behind the nets returned with Jill Cardle and the rest to take a bow. That was well deserved. I love that budgie so much. Annette Bradley ultimately announced the winner after the votes were tallied, and the play that garnered the most votes was For the Benefit of Albert Entwistle by David McCadden. And even though I voted for Condemned to Live, I could have voted for Revenge is Sweet. Those were my two absolute favourites, but nevertheless, For the Benefit of Albert Entwistle was a worthy winner, again due to its terrific script and being superbly performed and presented. And congratulations David McCadden again, who took first prize, and to all the cast and crew who were involved in that play. Well done also to all the other finalists who made it to the festival itself. And kudos also, I'd say, to the sound crew involved at Daneside Theatre, who they deserve a lot of credit, those guys, for playing sound effect for their contributions to the show. I mean, they played sound effects through the theatre's PA system, things like animal noises, crowds, motor vehicles, cooking sounds, the occasional background music, etc. All this stuff really helped make the plays come alive, and they deserve just as much praise as all the other members of Congleton Players involved in this night. It was a tremendous night, 4 stars overall, and a great festival indeed. And don't forget, this takes place in Congleton, Cheshire every year. If anyone out there is interested in getting involved, writing a play and submitting it with the hopes of Congleton Players acting it out, why not? Past winners have gone on to take their plays elsewhere and to even greater success, as my guests on the Box of Stuff were telling me throughout June. And it's another fantastic fun-filled event for local residents to attend to, along with everything else at this wonderful theatre. I'm looking forward to next year's event, definitely. And to Congleton Players, again, thank you all for allowing me to cover this year's event, and everyone else for their time. I would also like to give my apologies to David McCadden and David Burt, who both wrote and directed the winning play respectively. I tried to interview them after the show on that night, but my cameras gave out on me, so I couldn't get an interview to play for last Tuesday's show. But thanks both of you anyway for your time. Again, thanks to Dave McCadden for being my guest in the studio, and I'm sorry again. Thanks everyone for tuning in as always. For more information on Daneside Theatre, Congleton Players and their schedule of upcoming productions, then please visit their website at www.danesidetheatre.co.uk. Remember to tune into The Box of Stuff Tuesday nights at 7 p.m. only on Beartown Radio. This is DC Woods signing out. Take care everyone, see you next time.